This is Luke Paulson, the Catholic Conservative, and welcome to the news of the week for June 8th, 2024. And if you enjoy these videos, do not forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe for more. Not catching the joke. I have been called a lot of things, but I think that being called Sheldon is ironically in the top 10. When I post a video, it generally does not get many views. Not only because I am a small channel, but also because the algorithm does not favor what I produce. Lest you doubt me, my views are infinitely higher on Rumble and BitChute. Moving on, I scheduled a series of videos listing one fact about every fairy-type Pokemon. I chose 30 of them, one for each day of June. I am so sad that as of this recording, no one has caught the joke yet. However, the fact that they have a relatively high number of dislikes for a Pokemon video indicates to me that some people are catching on to the joke. It was a lot of work and I am trying to plan out what I am going to do next year. I like doing fun videos every so often as it tricks the algorithm and people into coming and watching my videos. However, the deep state has unwillingly found a way to trick people into donating and voting for Trump. Record-level donations. After President Trump's conviction as a result of the persecutor,
Don't you mean prosecutor? No!
President Trump raised record-level donations. However, that is just the tip of the iceberg. Interviewing people outside of the courthouse, some people who did not vote for him in 2016 or 2020 are now considering voting for him. Why would this be the case? It seems that it is precisely what President Trump has been telling us this whole time. They are not after him, they are after you, he is just in the way. And if they can do this to a former president, they can do this to you. The deep state, which has now been publicly acknowledged, must know that they are shooting themselves in the foot. It is up to people like Maxine Waters to try and fix this now. Now we are domestic terrorists. Hillary Clinton called us deplorables, but now Maxine Waters has cranked that up to 11. Let us look at two of her past comments about using violence.
If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome.
Now, technically, she did not call for violence, but considering her supporters have burned down buildings in the past, it would turn violent. Also, if a Republican said the same thing, it would be considered a call for violence.
I hope that we're going to get a verdict that is say guilty, guilty, guilty. And if we don't, we cannot go away. We've got to get more confrontational. We've got to make sure that they know that we mean business.
What does more confrontational mean to someone whose supporters burn down buildings? I shudder to consider that. Back to the present day. Waters now refers to us as domestic terrorists. That is an awfully strong description for people who did not burn down buildings when President Trump did not win the election. That is an awfully strong description for people who did not burn down buildings when President Trump was not inaugurated. That is an awfully strong description for people who did not burn down buildings when President Trump was hauled into court. That is an awfully strong description for people who did not burn down buildings when President Trump was found guilty. Yet encouraging people to create a crowd or to be more confrontational is perfectly acceptable. Stirring up violence is one thing that Democrats are allowed to do, as well as to say certain words. The dreaded word. There was a time when the media actually liked Donald Trump. I know that can be hard to believe for the younger people out there, but it is true. Moving on, he had a television series called The Apprentice where he starred and hosted it for 14 seasons. There has long been a rumor that there is an audio recording of Donald Trump using a certain word that rappers like Kanye West and Snoop Dogg have used. Naturally, no audio file has ever been released, probably because the file does not exist. My money is on the now revealed deep state to create a deepfake just to destroy President Trump. However, a former staffer from The Apprentice claims to have heard this. He has no proof other than hearsay, but they have convicted the man on less than that. However, the United States is not the only one with a dangerous deep state. Prager U on Brazil. Prager U is an amazing organization. This past week, they produced a new 5-minute video about Brazil. I encourage you to watch the video over there and then come back here. I would put it here, but to get the full context, I would have to put nearly 2 minutes of video over here. And I do not want to risk any copyright violations. Either way, it is generally uncouth to use such long clips from other channels without their permission, and I doubt that they would ever respond to me. Since you have hopefully watched the clip by now, it makes several comparisons between President Jair Bolsonaro and President Trump. After looking into it a bit further, it is far from a one-to-one comparison, but the overlap is shocking.
According to my research,
Bolsonaro stepped down once things really got heated. However, President Trump did not. Is it possible that the same shadowy people that saw their strategies work in Brazil brought them to the United States?
Yes.
However, operatives from around the world are flooding into America, and OMG is one of the only networks that is on the job. OMG Investigates a hotel. Casa Elitas is being used by those who want to destroy our country by housing illegals. OMG was perhaps the only group that was actually on the scene. They got us a lot of undercover information until the police were called on them. Naturally, those who wanted to undermine American sovereignty by working with these illegals were not happy about O'Keefe. They called the police, and OMG Media has finally obtained the body cam footage from these encounters. One person who complained, named Karen, was particularly upset. She wanted to ban these reporters from every property under her jurisdiction, something that the police said they could not do. According to the released footage, the people running the illegal operation were both upset and irrational, but O'Keefe remained quite calm. Granted, the police should have arrested the people who are helping the illegals, but at least they did not arrest O'Keefe. Again. However, let us talk about something else that certain people have tried to keep hidden. 12 times more likely. 12 is not a large number, all things considered. However, a new study has come out claiming everything that those who have been paying attention already knew. Children who get transitioned are 12 times more likely to commit suicide after their transition. We have been told by this industry for years that if these children did not get the treatment that they requested, they would commit suicide. The mantra was, do you want a dead daughter or a living son? Not only is this a false dichotomy, but it is patently false. These children and teens need to deal with the underlying psychological issues that led to this. In other words, we are medicating the children rather than getting them treatment. Something that is becoming more and more common. Even worse, the medication is worse than the disease. However, some liberals are starting to realize problems with their worldview. He can suddenly act. For most of his term, Biden's handlers have told him that he cannot just act unilaterally on the border. While claiming to want comprehensive action, he has spent his time in court fighting states that tried to defend the border, such as cutting razor wire in Texas. Officially, he needs Congress to act, because he is not as callous as his former boss.
I've got a pen and I've got a phone.
Now that the polls say that Americans trust President Trump more on the border, Brandon is taking action. Recall that when he got to the Oval Office, many of President Trump's actions to protect America, such as the Remain in Mexico policy, were revoked. Because waiting on the other side until it is confirmed that you are safe to enter is far too complicated. President Clinton supported a border wall with Mexico, and this is the border wall in southern Mexico. Walls are not racist. Securing a border is not racist. And putting America first is not racist. Fauci had no evidence. Fauci ruined our lives. There are no two ways about it. After declaring that he is science, he just kept lying over and over.
3 weeks later.
And over and over.
Many months later.
And over and over.
So much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new one.
And over again. It is for this reason that I call him Flip-Flop Fauci. Now he is admitting that he had no evidence for social distancing or masks when he made his recommendations. I heard that the 6-foot distance was to make it so that it was easier to track people via Bluetooth. The fact that he had no evidence was clear to everyone who was paying attention that did not have the liberal mind virus. We knew that he was lying the entire time, but no one believed us. They told us that we were trying to kill other people, or trying to commit suicide. Yes, I was actually accused of both. Now that we know there's no evidence, I'm going to take the high road and forgive the people who tried to destroy my life. It is not easy, but I will try. On Judgment Day, it will not matter, as they will be with me at the throne. As for Fauci and his ilk, I do not know. A lot of people died because of what he told them to do, and many more fell away from the faith. Unless he has accepted Christ Jesus, he will have to answer for every single one of them. Speaking of God's judgment, two groups collide. Beers for Palestine makes about as much sense as chickens for KFC. These people would be thrown off of a building in Palestine-controlled territory. How is that for inclusion? When a pride parade ran into a Hamas blockade, a brawl broke out. I normally do not approve of violence, but if the two groups take each other out, all is well that ends well. However, it gets even funnier, because the FBI decided to march in the parade. It just makes sense. However, when it comes to inclusion, not all people are to be included. BMW makes a mistake. As I'm sure that you know, all of the major companies change their logos during June. They make them rainbow-colored for some reason. Anywho, it has long been pointed out that they do not change their logos for business in the Middle East. This is because it is not politically expedient to do so. In some, if not all of these countries, gays are thrown off of buildings. But we still have the Gays for Palestine movement, and if you think that movement makes any sense,
I got some property in Arizona. From my front porch you can see the sea.
BMW, who should stick to making cars, was asked about this. They could have given a walk-around answer, but they did not. However, I'm sure that the person who answered was fired. According to this person, the logo was not changed for the Middle East because that could hurt business. And here we have them saying the quiet part out loud. This is not about representation because it is just a marketing strategy. Color me shocked. A new basketball player. Caitlin Clark is the new darling of the WNBA, and apparently she is so good that people are actually watching. I do not care, because I am more concerned about diminishing freedom than how some rich people play with a ball. She is getting flack not because of her political stance that I know nothing about. Clark does not have enough melanin in her skin, and this is somehow a problem. For whatever reason, this is news. Either way, she is hated because basketball is a sport that is dominated by people with a much higher melanin concentration than her. According to her critics, people only care about her because of her melanin or lack thereof. I will be honest, until they started bringing up her melanin, I do not think that anybody cared. I think that we should judge people based on the content of their heart, mind, and soul. But what do I know? I'm just a millennial YouTuber. Maybe I'm just blowing smoke. Maybe I'm completely off my rocker, but that is just my opinion. And do not forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe for more. But before you go, on the left I have last week's video, but you may also enjoy the video on the right.